It's time, everyone. Grab your sunscreen and your parasols. Make sure that you aren't particularly bothered by sand, and be ready for the heat, as we're going to the desert. My name is Tom, otherwise known as Titanium Legman, and welcome back to the channel. Hello everyone, if you enjoy what I do, including covering the news about turn-based strategy RPGs like Sword of Convallaria, then a like on this video and a subscription to the channel would be very much appreciated. Thank you so much. And speaking of which, what is the news? The news is that in around a week, Sand-Made Scales, the new chapter for the Spiral of Destinies, is going to be coming to Sword of Convallaria. Now, as a quick reminder, if you don't know what the Spiral of Destinies is, essentially it is the single-player, largely disconnected from the gacha side of the game campaign mode that follows a much more traditional Final Fantasy Tactics Ogre structure, and which has been regarded very highly by pretty much everyone who's played it. Even people who have no interest in the Fool's Journey, Elysium gacha side of the game still have really found themselves enjoying the Spiral of Destinies, and it's been highly praised by myself, other creators like Coffee Potato, people in our communities. Everyone's really enjoying it. And the reason that a new story branch is interesting is because it's a little bit of a roguelite system. Runs do take a long time, but you have a lot of different choices that you can make that affect the story throughout the run of a campaign, and then that will lead to very different story paths, endings, and the like. So now having a whole new route that takes you to a completely different nation that was not really relevant in the game prior to that point, that's very exciting. I think it's definitely cause for investigation, seeing as how it's just going to be a free update to the game. Anyone can play it, anyone can go check it out, and that's pretty cool. I'm excited to see what it entails, and it's going to be here very, very soon, and it's going to be interesting, to say the least. Why is that? Well, you know how all the other routes in the game thus far have centered around the whole conflict with like the Papal States and the Kingdom and the Union and Darklight and all that type of stuff, and how the Sword of Convallaria kind of winds up in the middle of that whole conflict and kind of gets caught in the crossfire, and then the different routes depend on what group you decide to work with and how you handle things. Sand-Made Scales says, no. No, what if we didn't do any of that? What if instead, I guess we just said, all right, we're just going to cleanse our hands of this, pack up shop, and move, and just go set up a small mercantile empire in the desert. I don't know how that's going to work. I don't quite follow how we're going to make that happen, how characters are going to be okay with just up and leaving. Maybe there's a reason, like there's some sort of solution that we can find to the problem if we go out here and do this. Who knows? But that is what's going to be happening here. From what little we've seen, it does kind of feel a little bit like the Golden Deer route from Fire Emblem Three Houses, where it's like, you guys have your war, do stuff with the church, whatever, it's fine. We're just going to go and do our own thing and have a bunch of different fights and try to get down to the bottom of the mystery of, like, what's going on in Fodlan. Kind of has a little bit of that energy to it, which is exciting. Now, this news came to us in the form of a small article and a trailer. I'll have the trailer linked, and actually the article as well, linked in the description, and then also there'll be little snippets of the trailer throughout this video. And there's not a ton of information to go over, but there's a couple of interesting things. First off, as the article calls out, new story chapter Sand-Made Scales will be arriving. We will get the beacon at the other side of the scale, which will allow us to go to the heart of Elman, being the country where this is going to take place. We'll be able to go there, set up our governance of our trade post, whatever that's going to entail, and figure out what's going on in this empire. Now, based on the trailer, we do see that there are a number of characters that are going to be available that are definitely merchants. First off, we have the seemingly merchant Homa, who actually, is a tan woman with dark brown/black hair and blonde highlights that definitely does not ring of any other characters from any other popular gacha games currently, not at all. But I mean, listen, it's a good design, so I can't fault them too much. She seems like she's going to be a ton of fun, probably our intro character to the region who's going to get us set up and help us kind of figure out what it is we're doing with this whole starting a mercantile empire thing. We then have the very scantily clad dancer Hasna. I imagine she's probably going to be more of a support character, although now that I think about it, she kind of does have like a Hyzantian vibe, so maybe she could be a more like assassin-y offensive character like Milo from Triangle Strategy, which would be pretty cool. Based off of her skills, she does seem to be doing probably damage. That's actually the more likely option there. We then see Cocoa, who appears to be a chef, like a traveling fry pan cook who actually like whaps people with the frying pan, which is really fun. It looks like she does also cook up meals for people, so I imagine she is more of a support character. And then finally, the mercantile lord of the region himself, the man who is on the thumbnail of this very video. Look at this glorious man, Akambe, the national merchant of Element. And seeing as how it seems like his whole deal is hiring mercenaries to go mess people up for their attacks, and he talks about like, well, you know, we didn't start this war, why not make a little bit of profit off of it? Yeah, you can see like he's probably going to be some sort of a mage character, someone who doesn't fight for themselves, who uses money to get things done, and is not opposed to being a little bit nefarious to make, as he says, a quick buck. So those types of characters are always fun. He's clearly filthy rich. So I'm excited to see where his story goes and how all the other characters wind up taking part as well. We see in the actual teaser image that's attached to the article, a lot of our favorite characters are here. So we'll have to see how much of a role they actually play, or if they're just here for the promotional imagery. Now, that trailer aside and those characters aside, there is some other useful information here as well. There's going to be a progression event that's running from the 13th to the 7th of November, so actually a pretty decent amount of time, where you can, you know, do different quests to get different rewards and summon materials and everything for the gacha side of things, of course. And then the most interesting thing to me, there is a, quote, new assist function in the Spiral of Destinies. Starting September 13th, engage in battles throughout the Spiral of Destinies with the added ability to deploy characters nurtured in Elysium, this being on the gacha side of the game. This new feature allows for strategic depth, letting you call upon Elysium characters for additional support and tactical advantages on the battlefield. And we can see there's a little example clip here where story characters are being deployed and then characters from Elysium are being deployed. And I'm very curious about how this is going to work, because as I mentioned at the start of the video, how the game has functioned up to this point is that you could choose 3 characters from the gacha side of the game to be your base starting party members, and then they would be where you would build your army from over the course of a run of Spiral of Destinies. You couldn't change those, you couldn't add more as you progressed, you just could get whatever characters you're able to recruit over the course of the story, and that was that. With this, unless it's very limited, like it can only be used in certain capacities, maybe certain types of missions, maybe you need a certain type of resource to bring them in, I don't know. It seems like it would defeat the purpose of that limitation, which is a little bit of a shame, because I do like the idea of just having your characters that you bring in and then recruiting characters over the course of the campaign. Obviously, you don't need to use this if it's something that's completely unlimited and you're just able to bring in all of your characters from the Fool's Journey side of the game, but we'll have to see. I'm curious about that. It could be fun if it's something that is a resource that's limited and it's just another different gameplay avenue for you to explore, but if it's just anything all the time forever, that'll be a little bit disappointing. All told, I am very excited about this new story edition. Obviously, I have a lot of time to spend still in the Spiral of Destinies to see all the different story paths that currently exist, but having a whole new country with a whole new storyline and whole new characters being introduced to the game and kind of being able to see how that's going to impact how the story progresses, that should be really interesting. It could be difficult to pull off from a story writing standpoint, but if they do pull it off, I think that's going to be a ton of fun. With that said, though, that's everything to talk about for now. I will be, by the time you see this video, I should be live streaming, actually, some Sword of Convallaria if you're watching it on release. So if I am, please drop on by, say hello. And then if you're watching this after release, well, look forward to this new story campaign being released. With that said, I'm going to wrap this one up here. My name has been Tom, otherwise known as Titanium Legman. I hope you all have a good night. Stay safe and healthy out there. And remember, be good to each other. Bye now.